for those of you who do not know me, my name is Karen Curry Parker. I am the creator of Quantum Human Design, the author of the Encyclopedia of Quantum Human Design. I have been teaching and sharing human design for a long time. I think since 1999. I'm not going to do the math, so I've been doing this since 1999. As I said, I've been doing this for a long time, and I'm excited today to be sharing with you the information about quantum human design, which is a little bit different than traditional human design. And we're going to be talking about how we use in quantum human design archetypes to align the body, mind, and spirit, and ultimately to support people in aligning and healing the world. So I already introduced myself. So let's see, what else are you? I have been an emotional freedom technique practitioner since 2000. I studied with Gary Craig in the very, very beginning. I've been a life coach since 1999. I am one of Ra Uru Hu's original students. So I've been working with and learned from Ra Uru Hu personally. I am a Quantum University PhD student and a guest lecturer. I am a TEDx presenter, and I am the host of the Quantum Revolution podcast, which actually is the thing I want to start with, because on my podcast, which I've been doing for 5 years, I get the privilege of interviewing thought leaders from around the world. Last Friday, I had the privilege of interviewing Greg Braden. And I'm bringing this up because I was kind of blown away. I asked Greg Braden, and the interview's coming out in a couple of months. I asked Greg Braden, what's up on the planet right now? And I was so beautifully and pleasantly surprised that someone who has the scientific background that he has, the experience teaching and sharing wisdom and knowledge about the evolution of the planet like he does, was literally saying so much of the same things that we talk about here in quantum human design. One of the things that he talked about was that what is really up for us on the planet right now is that we're literally redefining our story. We're telling and beginning the process of codifying and writing a new story about what it means to be human. And I personally believe that the human design system emerged onto the planet at the time that it did, because it is a beautiful tool to help humanity see its potential and understand how to deliberately and consciously, using quantum creativity, evolve towards the fulfillment of the human potential. So I'm going to start today by breaking down just some core basic concepts in quantum creativity. I'm going to talk about what quantum creativity is. I'm going to talk a little bit about why, if you're a coach, if you're a healer, if you're somebody who feels called to serve the world, to help people, why you really need to understand quantum creativity. Some of you may already be teaching it in various different ways through various modalities that you use. I want to break down quantum creativity. I'm going to explore with you how we use human design and quantum human design to help people amplify their creative power, and why, as we stand on the brink of what I believe is a cosmic creative revolution, a global creative revolution, a revolution that I think is going to allow humanity, support humanity in discovering the elegant solutions to the challenges facing the world today. Why, if you're using quantum human design as part of your practice or as a quantum human design practitioner, your work is so very important on the planet right now. My intention is that you will continue to refine for yourself your own personal narrative, so that you too can create on a conscious, deliberate, and quantum level with great deliberation and intention. So for us to understand quantum creativity, we have to first understand the difference between situational creativity versus fundamental creativity. Part of what's up for us on the planet right now, and certainly part of what's up for us as we learn and explore human design, is we are deconditioning. That's a term you've probably heard if you're familiar with human design. And certainly part of what's happening when we decondition is we are moving away from being situationally creative to becoming fundamentally creative. Now, situational creativity is the kind of creativity that we experience when we're conditioned. So, our conditioning, the experiences that we have, all those places where we've internalized the message that it's not okay for you to be who you are or how you are, our ancestral lineage, our karma, if you want to call it that, all of the things that make up the story that we think we are, the story that we have been told is the story we have to follow if we're going to be successful in the world. All of those old patterns, that old conditioning, have created in you, in all of us, reactive patterns, situationally creative patterns. Situational creativity usually happens in the moment. It's responsive, reactive in the moment. It is oftentimes, as I said, determined by your conditioning. It usually offers up a short-term solution to get rid of a temporary pain. That pain comes back usually because situational creativity doesn't usually give us a sustainable solution. It's finite. It comes from your conditioned mind. So it's something that you use reasoning and thinking to try to figure out, and it's consequently reasonable. If you are a coach, if you're a healer, if you yourself are doing your own journey with your own deconditioning process, all of us arrive at the beginning of the deconditioning process being situationally creative. It's how we're trained, it's how we're taught to be in the world. And certainly, I would say that one of the things that oftentimes can cause us or cause our clients to experience the greatest amount of pain is that we're creating from a place of being situationally creative. We're creating from a place that's limited and finite and offers short-term solutions, but doesn't create long-term change. One of the things that we talk about with quantum human design is how do we bring people into a more fundamentally creative state? Fundamental creativity transcends conditioning. It oftentimes happens in the shower. It happens through epiphanies, right? It's that deep insight that we get that suddenly the whole solution shows up. It makes us, or it gives us the ability to make a quantum leap over our thinking and find that elegant cosmic solution that helps us really create in a sustainable, imaginative, and possibility oriented way. It oftentimes aligns us with cosmic order because what we know is that the cosmos itself is highly organized, and it literally is evolving towards higher and higher states of organization and evolution. So it's our nature as human beings, as aspects of the cosmos, that we ourselves, when we are dialed in correctly, when we are being fundamentally creative, that we ourselves are creating, evolving in order, in alignment with cosmic order, in more and more complex and more evolved ways. It is oftentimes fundamental creativity is oftentimes literally unreasonable. And those of you who have been following your human design strategy and authority for a little bit or longer, you know that sometimes that unreasonable thing pops in, especially if you have a defined sacral, right? That unreasonable kicks in and your brain is screaming, no, you can't do that. And your sacral's going, yeah, watch me, right? So our fundamental creativity sometimes takes us in a direction that is unreasonable, but also extraordinarily powerful and highly evolved. Let's talk for just a minute about the components of quantum creativity, or the components of the creative equation, and why you need to focus on these different components depending on where you are on your own evolutionary journey or your own deconditioning journey, in order for you to activate your ability to be fundamentally creative or to help other people become more quantum creative or quantumly creative or more fundamentally creative. So the very first part of the creative equation, if you will, is the unmanifest reality. We sometimes call this the quantum field. You at this very moment are living, you are a part of a field of infinite potential, a field of infinite possibility. So at any given point in time, we are focused on one particular reality, one particular manifestation of an idea, a thought, a story, but we are simultaneously immersed in an infinite field of potential. And it's up to us. We have the ability, when we know how, when we are fundamentally creative, to draw our attention towards a different experience in reality, an experience of our own choosing rather than an experience that's reactive. We can't choose though if we're conditioning. If we're conditioned, the second component in this creative equation is what we call the mental and the emotional bodies. You have, in essence, a filter that's part of your energy field where you carry your story, where you carry your conditioning. That's all the beliefs you have, the experiences you've had, the emotional artifacts that you've had. It contains the DNA or the ancestral lineage of your story. So you're not just holding on to your story and your own personal conditioning field, you're also bringing with you as you move through life the conditioning field of your ancestral lineage. And so sometimes the way in which we react to life is not only a result of our own experience, our own lived experience, our own imprinting, it's even oftentimes a result of the imprinting that we carry. We actually carry this in the unconscious part of our human design. We carry this conditioning from our genetic lineage. So when we look at money, for example, when we're coaching people around money, sometimes the experiences or the stories that people have about money, they're not based on their own personal experience. Sometimes it's about their ancestral lineage. Those of us who have grandparents who came from the Great Depression, you've had the experience of going through your grandparent or your great grandparents' houses after they've passed, and you pull open the drawer and they have every piece of string, every rubber band, they've saved everything because of the trauma of the poverty of the Great Depression. This happened when my first husband's grandmother passed away. She lived in West Texas, where they were hit very hard by the Great Depression and the Dust Bowl. This is part of his genetic lineage, that he comes from this lineage of extreme poverty during the Great Depression. And I see this story playing out sometimes even in my own kids. When we decondition, we don't just change our own personal story, we also clear our ancestral lineage. We literally shift ourselves on a genetic level. And the work that we do with quantum human design is an integral part of helping people consciously clear ancestral lineage and, of course, personal stories that keep us from deliberately and consciously choosing what we want out of the quantum field. The next part of the creative equation is called the subtle body. You also have in your energy field literally an energy template that's holding you together. That energy template contains the information that will eventually manifest in your physical reality. So it sort of gives you a sneak peek, if you will, into what you're about to create. Or if you're in the process of discreating something, sometimes that shows up in your subtle body as well. So if you have ever had a reading with, say, a medical intuitive or a really good psychic, they can sometimes scan your energy template and they can see, like, oh, you're about to manifest your soulmate. Or they can also see, oh, it looks like you were just sick recently, because you'll have little pieces of that still in your template as it's being discreated out of your life. In the work that we do here at Quantum Alignment System, we have an advanced branch of quantum human design where we integrate quantum human design with EFT, the emotional freedom techniques, and flower essences and sound modalities to clear this energy template, so that the template that's holding your body and your life together is as clear and you have as much control over what you create as possible. So we don't only just teach quantum human design here, we actually teach people how to implement it into some pretty powerful advanced healing modalities that help people not only achieve greater states of wellness and vitality, but also help them, again, clear out old patterns of conditioning that might be keeping them stuck or trapped or locked into old patterns that are not fundamentally creative. The final component of the creative equation is your manifested reality, your life right now. Your life right now is the sum total of how all of those parts play together. You ultimately have control, or at least influence, over what you create right now. And the fastest, best way for you to get control is for you to go back to all the parts of this creative equation and regain sovereignty over these parts. A different and sometimes easier way to look at this is just a simpler diagram than all my parts here. If you think about this right now, you're swimming in a quantum field of infinite possibilities. You have a filter. That filter is helping you determine, consciously or unconsciously, what possibilities you're choosing to manifest in your life right now. Understanding how your human design chart works helps you gain control over this filter. We tend to teach, and traditional human design sort of teaches this. We teach that the chart is a label, it's a definition of what we are. Your chart isn't actually a label. Your chart is, and Ra used to teach this, your chart is actually a map. It's a map that shows you how your energy works. It's a map that lays out your soul curriculum. It's a map that shows you how you interface not only with the world, but with the quantum field. And when you understand how this map works, your unique blueprint works, then you are able to then regain sovereignty over your creative process and interface with great deliberation with the quantum field and your physical reality, so that no matter what happens to you, you're able to take control over what you create, and you're actually able to influence the spaces within which you are operating. You learned how to have the ability to walk into a room and stay connected to your own heart coherence, to your own inner self, and you become the person who is actually co-regulating everybody else in the room, rather than you being the one who gets co-regulated by other people in the room. You begin to be influential in every way. So, to sum all that up, you are literally the story you tell about yourself. Your personal story, your narrative, is the story you tell about yourself. And one of the things that we do when we use quantum human design with our clients is we give them a very structured, very systematic way to gain control over the story they tell about themselves. So that when they learn to tell the story of their choosing, when they learn to tell a story that says, I am a unique and vital and irreplaceable part of the cosmic plan, and because I understand that, I know my value, I know my right place, I know what I am, who I am, I know what I'm here to do. When they take back control of that story, they start to create the life they were born to live. And so, as a quantum human design specialist, one of the things that we're passionate about and we love to do is help people get control over their story. And of course, help you too get control of your story so that you get to decide. So, let's talk a little bit about how this works. One of the components of human design is quantum physics. We know from quantum physics that when you look at quantum particles, the little tiny building blocks of the world, our material world, when we look at quantum particles, we can either measure the movement of a quantum particle or the location of a quantum particle, but never both at the same time. So you can either know how it's moving or you can know where it is, but you cannot measure both at the same time. Part of what happens is the minute you start to have an expectation about where a quantum particle is going to be, it shows up where you expect it to be. What we know from quantum physics is that the movement of quantum particles represents pure potential. So when I say you're sitting in a field of infinite quantum potential, you're literally sitting in a field of non-manifest moving quantum particles. The minute you have an expectation or a definition about a particle, where it should be, is the minute you cause it to drop out of movement potential into manifestation or location. So the thing that determines which quantum particles, which potentials are we actually dropping or bringing into our physical world, the thing that determines what we're manifesting is the meaning we have about the possibility. The meanings we have about potentials determine what we manifest. The meanings we have are determined by our conditioning field. And if we want to help our clients create a different state of well-being, we have to support them in changing the meanings that they hold. This is, of course, true for you too. So what does that mean? Our perception of the world determines what we create. It determines the potentials we activate in the quantum field. So, we're going to play a little game here for a minute. I want you to think of the word creativity just for just a moment. Put everything down. Take a deep breath and think about creativity. And I want you to write down everything that comes to mind when you think of creativity. All right? Anything that comes to mind when you think of the word creativity. So, color, making something out of nothing, fun, imagination, art, beauty, artistic, endless possibilities, paint, creating something no one's ever done before, alchemy, art, music, color, innovation, moving, freedom, flow, and inspiration. You guys are really creative here. Beautiful, beautiful. So, notice how different some of these thoughts are, right? We all have a whole different set of definitions around the idea of creativity. You know, it's interesting. When I see the word creativity, I don't have these positive definitions. I'm really proud of you guys for having such great positive definitions. I live within some really, really, really creative people. My husband is an architect. My 13-year-old is unbelievable, like mind blowingly creative. And every time I see them create something, I feel like I'm a creative rock. So I definitely am still working on my perception of my creativity. Is actually one of the things I decided to work on this year. I'm glad you all have such positive ideas and thoughts about creativity. I'm going to borrow some of those for myself. Thank you for inspiring me. So let's talk about what just happened. When you saw the word creativity, well, the word creativity is just an archetype. It's a word that you, as you saw from the chat and even from my own story, it's a word that has a lot of different meanings for each and every one of us, right? We have our own definition, our individual definitions of what creativity is. So when I said the word creativity and you saw my little slide, here's what happened. As soon as you saw that word, it started a photon storm in your brain. The nervous system works and is activated by light. That photon storm created, in response, a series of neurotransmitters. That's a chemical, right? So just in that 1 second, when you saw the word creativity, you literally transformed light into matter. That's how powerful you are. Those neurotransmitters, in turn, created a specific emotional response. That emotional response was determined by your story, the meanings you have about the word creativity. Those emotions, in turn, either calibrated your heart into a state of coherence, which is a deep state of alignment between mind and body, or if you were like me and you're like, yeah, I'm not really very creative, then you may have triggered a state of incoherence. Now, creativity is kind of a soft word. If I had used the word money, or if I'd used the word mother, some of you might have had different responses than to the word creativity. I was deliberately easy on you. Our level of heart coherence, our alignment with positive meanings of archetypes, our alignment with telling good stories about ourselves actually influences what we attract, right? We know from human design that there is a magnetic resonance field that resides in the G center, the monopole, that is literally attracting into your life things that match the level of value and lovability you have about yourself. Obviously, if you're not in a state of self-love and self-worth, what you might be calling in might reflect that lower state. The other thing that happens is it actually starts to program your brain, pay attention to filter the data that you're being stimulated by, because we're constantly being bombarded by data and the brain can't process everything that's around us. So the brain has a system in it called the reticular activating system, the RAS. That RAS actually causes the brain to filter out information that doesn't match the meanings you hold or doesn't match your story. So you might be immersed in an incredibly amazing situation that's wildly abundant and creative, but if you don't tell a story that's true about that, if you don't have a story that matches that, your brain can't see it. You can't see the opportunities because your brain can't process the data. So when we work with clients and we use quantum human design, one of the things that we're doing is we are learning how to help our clients reframe the meanings that they have about themselves and their lives so that they begin to have a different point of attraction. They learn to calibrate the magnetic monopole in a different way so that they begin to attract into their life experiences, and we help them program the reticulating activating system in the brain so they can see the new manifestation of a bigger, better story that's more true about who they really are. All right, so photons are part of our creative medium. What inspires the movement of the photons in the first place? Your filter, the story you tell about yourself, and you living out the highest potential of your human design chart influences what you create and what you attract. So, in other words, to create the reality you want to be experiencing, you have to tell a story that matches what you want. And if your story creates your reality, then you have to ask, who are you? And what story are you telling about yourself? In other words, how have you been conditioned? A big part of what we do with quantum human design is give people new words, new language, and new vocabulary to help them craft a story that helps them begin the process of deconditioning the old story so they can tell a better story, a story they like, a story that's more worthy of who they really are. So when we are talking with our clients and working with our clients and coaching our clients or doing healing work with our clients, and they show up and they're showing up, 99% of the time they're showing up because they don't like the story they're telling, right? They're stuck in a story. One of the biggest challenges that we have when our clients show up and they're struggling with a story is we don't always know how to create a healthy set of meetings that allows them to choose well-being in every area of their life, right? If somebody comes in and they're struggling with money, well, there are a lot of different things related to your money story. How do you know how to create and help your client create a healthy set of meetings? Well, this to me is probably the most powerful and beautiful thing about quantum human design, because quantum human design gives us a tangible, very practical way to help people catalog the story they're telling. It gives people a vocabulary so they can start changing their personal narrative. It literally is like a Rolodex of all the parts of the human story. I mean, when we look at human design, it's such a beautiful synthesis of ancient and modern archetypes. It literally gives us this easy to use tool that helps us to take apart all the parts of a story and put it back together in a way that helps people really tell the story of their own choosing. It also helps us understand, what is our client's soul curriculum? What are they here to learn? And how are they designed to interface between their physical material world, their physical reality, those trips they take to the grocery store, the relationships they have with their partners and their children and their parents, their body. It helps us really look at, how do we take this powerful interface, this story, and consciously work with it to begin to tell the story of our own choosing. Now, for some of you who don't know the difference between quantum human design and traditional human design, or maybe even the history of traditional human design, I want to just give you a little bit of a backstory. Human design is a revealed body of knowledge. It was revealed to a man named Ra Uru. His born name is Robert Allen Krakauer. He says that he received this information in 1987 when there was a supernova. So he oftentimes said that this information comes from or was carried in the neutrino stream that happened as a result of supernova 1987A. During this revelation, he was given, over the course of 8 days, all of the information in the system, and he had to teach it. And some of you who have received wisdom teachings in this way, he literally had to teach it out loud for almost 16 years before he felt like he got it all out of his body and out of his mind. In the process of teaching, one of the things that he talked about a lot was that traditional human design was designed to awaken what he called the not self. I don't like the term not self because I feel like it's all part of us. But what he really meant by the phrase the not self is the conditioned person. So traditional human design, the way that it is taught, is designed to teach people who you're not. So if you have learned human design in a traditional way or from a traditional place, or you've read traditional books, the language of traditional human design is designed to be spoken to your conditioned self. It's designed to kind of penetrate it, to awaken, to help you codify and classify and understand how you've been conditioned, and to remember who you are by first learning who you're not. Ra always said that at a certain point, he would rewrite the traditional language of human design to create what he called an awakened I Ching, or awakened Rave I Ching. So his intention was always to write the vocabulary for people who have already been initiated by traditional human design, people who are living in alignment with who they are. That those people, those of you who've gone through the deconditioning process, you needed better vocabulary words, a bigger way to reframe and understand who you are and what you're here to do. Unfortunately, Rob passed in 2011, and he never completed his work with writing and sharing and transmitting the awakened Rave I Ching. So traditional human design is very important. It's very important. It's a really important way for people to discover and realize who they're not. But after doing a lot of work with people, and of course, as you may have seen in the beginning, my background is in coaching. My original training is in nursing. I always have brought to my understanding of human design a therapeutic background. And one of the things that I started to see very early on in my career is that a lot of my clients were already coming in having gone through a significant part of the deconditioning process. They'd already done a lot of inner work. They'd already had different sorts of awakenings, or had done different processes to help them wake up to who they are not. And they were really looking for a system, a way of talking about themselves that was bigger than that. They wanted a bigger description of who they are. And a lot of them were struggling with what they felt like was the limitations of traditional human design. They felt like the language and some of the ways that we talked about human design felt limiting and constrictive. And so actually starting before Ra passed, but I did this quietly, but really for the last, I'll say the last 13 years, I really began to explore, well, if traditional human design has spoken to the person that you're not, to wake you up, to help you remember who you are, how do we talk to the person that you really are? And so I went into a deep dive over the years of really exploring, how do we rewrite the language in traditional human design to make it be a template, a way of speaking about the person you're growing into becoming, a way of speaking about human design that gives us space to grow into, that gives us parts of a narrative that are more expansive, that allow us to step into a bigger, broader definition and understanding of not only who we're not, but who we can grow into becoming. And so this journey of language and looking at language and taking language apart and literally measuring the frequency of vocabulary words in the lab, and really picking and consciously choosing high frequency language, high caliber language as seeds to help people construct for themselves a bigger, better story, became my job, if you will, or as I don't like the word founder or creator. I feel like I have had the privilege of being a part of midwifing maybe quantum human design. And that in this journey of exploring, how do we use human design in a more expansive way beyond traditional human design, I have the privilege of serving quantum human design, which is part of what I teach people how to use in the quantum human design training program. So again, I want to be really clear. When I talk about human design and I talk about quantum human design, I will never say one is better than the other. They're not. What I'm really saying when I talk about traditional human design and quantum human design is that human design is on a spectrum. It's a study. It's a system of archetypal analysis. Archetypes, as we saw when we looked at the word creativity, are inherently neutral. They're neutral until we give them meaning. And those meanings are oftentimes influenced by the language that we use, the vocabulary that we use. The words we use trigger neurological responses. So when we're using traditional human design, it's designed to trigger a specific response. We also, on the other side of the continuum, need language that creates an opening for a different response, a different narrative, a different story. And so we really need both. And as human design specialists, you really need to be able to know how to move people through that process of waking them up with traditional human design and helping them expand and grow with quantum human design. So let's bring us back to this little image. Remember, your filter determines what you create. If we look at human design, we see that it's a synthesis of Eastern and Western astrology, the Hindu chakra system, Judaic Kabbalah, the Chinese I Ching, and quantum physics. Now, one of the things that I actually just posted this morning on Instagram, one of the things that's really notable about all of these different wisdom teachings is that every single one of these wisdom teachings is rooted in archetypes, but also rooted in the idea that we have choice. We see in the Judaic Kabbalah, when we're looking at Kabbalah, well, Kabbalah is all about choice. Literally, that's the whole premise of Kabbalah. In Kabbalah, we talk about what are called Bahira points, where every time you encounter a life situation, you have this Bahira point, this choice point. And this choice point allows you to consciously choose, am I going to take the high road and make a choice that brings me closer to the divine? Or am I going to take the lower road and maybe go a little bit further away from the divine? The I Ching, if you read the traditional Chinese I Ching, it's all about the choice of the evolved human versus the unevolved human, right? It's all about the pathways laid out to us that are pathways of choice. The Hindu chakra system is all about cycles of choice and karma and how to consciously choose based on your own conscious awareness, what path you want to take to break yourself free from old karmic patterns. And even Eastern and Western astrology is all about archetypes and consciously choosing. Quantum physics, of course, we just saw, teaches us about narrative and choice and how narrative creates choice. We can't have a system, human design, that's a synthesis of all of these ancient and modern wisdom teachings, these cross-cultural wisdom teachings, all rooted in the idea that we have the ability to consciously choose, and then say, well, but that's not true in human design. Traditional human design oftentimes teaches, well, you don't have any choice. You are who you are, and you don't have any choice. And I think that's where some of this idea of design being a fixed labeling system has kind of come into some of the ways people are teaching human design. It has to be built into the system that choice is an essential element of human design. And one of the things that we talk about a lot with quantum human design is, how do you consciously choose? How do you decondition so that you can become more and more liberated from old patterns so that you can better choose what you want? So all of these systems have archetypes in common. And as I said, an archetype is an idea, a symbol, a pattern, or a character type in a story. And of course, we're all each living our own personal story that's comprised of the unique archetypes in our own chart. And by the way, one of the things that we talk about a lot in quantum human design is there is nothing in the chart that you don't have. You all have all of the chart. We all have all of the chart, just like we all have all of the human genome. Okay, we're not expressing all of it, but we have it all in ourselves. You all have all of the chart. We use the different parts differently depending on our unique configuration. And when you understand how that configuration works, then you're able to leverage it and use it in the way you choose to be using it. Okay, so these are actually archetypes from my own chart. I put this into a word cloud for me. You might want to do that someday. It's kind of a fun thing to do. Just go take all the archetypes, the names of the gates and the parts of your chart, and put them in a word cloud. It'll be kind of interesting for you to see sort of this bigger picture of your soul curriculum, right? We know, again, archetypes show up on a spectrum. You have a low expression. So if we look at the archetype of the second line, which in traditional human design we call the hermit, We know that the low expression of the hermit is the person that squirrels away and hides themselves out in 10 acres of woods and they never come out again, right? It's the witch living in the forest who eats children. That's the shadow element of the hermit, right? And we know, maybe another shadow element of the hermit is that you need alone time to rest and restore your energy. And maybe you're a mama with lots of little children and you don't get enough self care time. You don't get enough time to nurture yourself or restore your own energy. That's also the shadow element of the hermit archetype, right? And on the high side of this archetype is somebody who consciously knows they need alone time to recharge. And so they structure their life in such a way that they are deliberately and consciously retreating to recalibrate, reintegrate, take care of themselves so they can better show up in response to what people need from them. Right? So all of the archetypes in the chart, the entire chart, every part of the chart, the types, the centers, the lines in the profiles, the channels, the circuits, the gates, all of the chart is just archetypes. And one of the things that we talk about a lot in quantum human design is how do you consciously choose and structure your life so that you're living out the highest element, the highest expression of the archetypes in your chart. So we know that we are happiest and most abundant, and I believe most magical in our current awareness when we're creating an alignment with the highest expression of the archetypes that comprise the authentic self and your unique energy blueprint. In other words, when you're living out the high elements of the chart, you're literally bringing yourself into a state of coherence. You're bringing your heart into this highly deliberate, conscious, attractive state. And you're tapping into literally higher states of immunity, higher states of well being, higher states of abundance, higher states of vitality. And when we use quantum human design in that way, it actually amplifies our ability to coach people. It amplifies our results with our clients and allows us to be more effective in the work that we do as healers, as teachers, as thought leaders, as coaches, as whatever you might be doing. So, why is this important to know? Well, the biggest place of creative challenge for many people is trying to create something that they don't really want. Many of us are stuck in situationally creative situations, if you will, because we're trying to create something we don't really want. We're trying to create something we've been told we should be wanting because that's the thing that we should have if we're going to be successful in the world. And of course, we know that there is no one size fits all way to create. So, one of the things that we have to do first and foremost with our clients, and this is where traditional human design comes in so beautifully, is we have to help our clients learn what is their unique way of creating? How do they figure out what it is that they actually want to be creating? And of course, if you're going to create what you want, you have to know who you're designed to be. You have to know which archetypes are part of your soul curriculum in order to know how you create and what you truly want. The second problem that we oftentimes have when we're working with clients is how do we figure out if they're expressing meanings that are not working, right? If they're stuck in a money story, they're stuck in a relationship story, they're stuck in a body story, they're stuck in a career fulfillment story, they're stuck in a spiritual story that doesn't work. And okay, this is a problem with meaning. How do you figure out what meanings to clear? Right? There's a lot of archetypes in that human design chart. You start breaking that down, that's 64 gates, that's 2 lines in the profiles, that's 9 centers, that's 3 main circuits, that's 5 types. There's a lot of stuff in that chart that's holding meaning. Well, how do you figure out what meanings to clear? Where do you reach that point in critical mass that causes all those meanings to drop away so that somebody can live true to who they were born to be? Well, one of the things that we teach in quantum human design is a concept called the 9 resiliency keys, and this is unique to quantum human design. Basically, the story behind the 9 resiliency keys is this. If we took all the parts of the chart, the entire chart, and we put it in a blender, a metaphorical blender, and we blended it with core human growth developmental cycles. So we blended it with child development. We blended it with adult development. We blended it with the needs of the human psyche. If we took all of these parts and blended them all together, what we would really come out with is not 5 types, 9 centers, 3 circuits, 12 profiles, all the gates and the channels. What we'd really come out with is nine core base archetypes that are at the root of everything that creates choice. These 9 core archetypes are called the 9 resiliency keys. They are 9 core aspects that are at the root of healing, the root of maturity, health, and resiliency. These 9 core archetypes have to function at the highest level if you're going to get out of struggle in the chart. So when we're working with clients, not only are we, of course, helping them regain sovereignty over their own personal narrative, we're also working with these 9 core archetypes to help them break free from the struggle in the chart. These 9 core archetypes are oftentimes at the root of most pain and trauma, or most self-sabotage patterns. And those self-sabotage patterns often create protective identities that can be at the root of self-sabotage. So I'm going to, in the next little series of slides, I'm going to just literally walk you through those 9 archetypes very quickly. Each one of these archetypes is associated with key areas in the chart. So one of the things that we work on in human design and in quantum alignment system is we work on these 9 core base archetypes. We correlate them to core pieces of the chart, and we're able to look at a chart and say, oh, this is a chart that's probably going to be struggling with this archetype. And now, instead of tackling the whole chart and all the gates and all the centers and all the stuff that goes into it, now we can just focus on that core base archetype. And when people make those big shifts in reframing those core base archetypes, it actually allows them to make big shifts in key areas of their chart as well. So as I go through these and I read them to you, I want you just to sit for a minute and feel them for yourself. Just feel where might you rank on a scale of 0 to 10, 0 being low, 10 being high. Where might you rank yourself on a scale with these 9 base archetypes? So the first archetype is lovability. Can you feel, or do you feel like you can be loved and accepted for who you are? Just make a note. There's no right or wrong answer here. This is just strictly for your own self-awareness. The second archetype is empowerment. Do you feel like you have influence or control over your life? The third archetype is courage. Does fear keep you from fulfilling your joy? The fourth archetype is decisiveness. It's kind of a little bit of a hack with that with human design, right? Do you know how to choose what's right for you? The next archetype is emotional wisdom. Does emotional energy keep you from acting deliberately? Are you reactive? Or especially you have an open solar plexus, do you compromise with what you want in order to keep other people happy? The next resiliency key is self-trust. Do you trust yourself? Do you know how to connect with that inner wisdom, that truth, your North Star, your compass, so that you know what's the next right thing for you to do? Are you vitality? Are you fully expressing your vitality and your energy? Or the opposite of that is, are you burned out? Authenticity is the next one. Do you feel free, and I would say safe, to be who you really are? And last but definitely not least is self-worth. Do you know your value? If you are struggling with any of these 9 resiliency keys, it is probably impacting your ability to fully tap into the fulfillment of the potential of your chart. And of course, obviously, the same is true for your clients as well. So I like to organize these kind of in a pyramid. It's a little bit hard to see on the slide, but this is a pyramid. The pyramid kind of goes like this. The top of the pyramid is vitality, which of course is the opposite of it, is burnout. On the bottom of the pyramid is lovability and self-worth. Certainly, I would say if you struggle with burnout, or your clients struggle with burnout, which by the way is about 65% of the people in America, if you're dealing with clients who are struggling with vitality, probably at the root of it is issues around lovability and self-worth. And of course, the chart, and knowing how to leverage the chart correctly, and knowing how to integrate high based knowledge rooted in core concepts about human growth and development, knowing how to leverage that correctly allows you to get to the root of what's really going on with your client and their burnout, and how you can support them in reclaiming their lovability and remembering their true value. So let's talk a little bit about becoming a certified quantum human design specialist. As you may know, we have an extensive training program. We have a training program that's broken down. The basics of the program are broken down into 4 levels. We have quantum human designs level 1, 2, 3, and 4. I broke them down into levels in the very beginning when I first started teaching human design, because I wanted people to be able to quickly jump in, get their feet wet, learn enough to get started, and get started working on their businesses so that they could continue to learn without having to invest a lot more money. So, level 1 in our quantum human design training program covers the basics of type, strategy, and authority. So, in level 1, you learn about type, strategy, and authority. In level 2, we cover the basics of centers and profiles. Those 2 programs, when we put them together, are usually bundled together. It's a really nice program that allows you to get a really good, solid foundation in human design and really how to start supporting your clients in clearing some of those 9 base archetypes. Level 3, which is the next part of the program, which is a little bit more extensive. In level 3, we go through all the channels and all the gates. So that one's a little bit more extensive, a little bit meatier, but again, gives you a deep ability to really understand a chart. And level 4 is more of what I call the art of chart reading. In level 4, we go through how do you put the whole story of the chart together. It's very easy and it's hard sometimes. When we learn teach human design, we have to break it down into the parts, and it's easy to integrate and learn all the parts. But the real art, if you will, of chart reading comes from knowing how to put all those parts back together, and not just put them back together like to do a flat out reading, but to put them back together in such a way that you can really address your clients' questions like, what's going on with me in money? What's going on with me in relationships? What's going on with me in parenting? What's going on with me in my body? What's going on with me in career fulfillment? What's going on with me and my intuition? We have to be able to specifically answer the questions that our clients have, because if we're just doing a chart reading without knowing how to tailor it to the needs of our clients, they're still going to get something out of it. Don't get me wrong, but they won't get the best answers that they really can get out of the chart. And so you really want to be able to learn to not only look at a chart and understand the parts of a chart, but you also really want to know, how do I put those parts back together to give answers to my clients in such a way that really supports them in evolving, in shifting those meanings, and helping them understand their soul curriculum so that they can leverage that chart consciously and deliberately and stop reacting to life and take back control over what they really create. Our support, our training is mostly online. So levels 1, 2, and 3, you can do online. There, you can do them home study. You can do them at whatever speed you want. And I have had people who have whipped through the program very quickly, and I've had people who have really savored it and taken their time. So we give you the opportunity to study and learn at your own pace. But I also know that you have questions. If you're a student, if any of us are students, we want to be able to talk to someone. I'm right now working on my PhD at Quantum University. It's a lot of the courses are online and pre-recorded. I have questions. I have a lot of questions a lot of times. And it's really important to me to have a place to be able to go ask my questions. I wanted to, when I created the training, make sure that you had access to that as well. So in addition to the online trainings, once a week, we have an open forum. And in that forum, you have the ability to actually come talk to me personally, bring your questions. If you can't come to forum live, you can post your questions online and we'll answer them live on the call, so that you have the ability to really be able to connect with a live person who can help you get your questions answered. We also have what I personally believe is one of the most thriving, abundant communities possible. We joke, it's not really a joke. We don't really think of our human design students as students. You're our family. And we have a a really thriving, delicious, supportive online community and in-person community. I recently just came back from teaching an advanced training in Albuquerque, New Mexico, a couple of weeks ago. And it was so fun to see some of my students who started off as quantum human design students and then went on to study the quantum alignment system they lived close together and they met up and they became best friends, and they hang out and they went to trainings together. So a lot of the people in our community connect, in a lot of in really deep and beautiful ways, and even connect with each other around the world. We had two students who were actually working together in Germany and who came together on the same plane, sitting together on the same plane, came from Germany to Albuquerque to train with us. We also have an advanced, what do you call it, professional organization. And in that professional organization, we do a year-long curriculum, business development curriculum, because it's important to us that you don't just get the training in human design and you be really good at knowing how to use quantum human design. We also want you to build a thriving practice, because you need to be able to use this system in such a way that you're able to sustain yourself financially and energetically so you can keep doing this work. I really believe the work of helping people reframe their narrative right now on the planet at this time is the most important work that you can do. And if you can't do it sustainably because you haven't learned how to run a business, which is different than doing human design readings, right? If you can't do it effectively and in a profitable way, it's hard for you to keep doing the work you feel called to do. So, after doing this work and teaching people now since 1999, it has become, it's always been, and even more important now, that I teach people not only how to read a chart, but also how to build your business and how to really help you get the support that you need to get yourself out there in the world so that you can help people and also be able to pay your bills and do good work and take time off and rest and renew yourself so that you can keep doing good work in the world. So, as I said, here's how it works. Levels 1 and 2 is online, it's self paced. We have a live weekly forum and we have a private community where we support each other. Also, our director of the quantum human design training, Hannah, are you here? This is Hannah. If you take this training, you'll also, oops, you disappeared. You'll also be doing working a lot with Hannah. Hannah runs Chart Chat Live. She does that once a month, right?
Yes, it's once a month.
Yeah. So we also have other opportunities where you get to hop on and work with Hannah and practice chart reading, and again get to connect with each other. So again, we have a very thriving community. I think probably one of the things that I'm the most proud of in our trainings is our community and the level of support that we give our students. You all are very, very important to us. The other thing that's really interesting and I think really fun and exciting about what we do here is the work that we do really gives you a tremendous potential for growth. So you can learn quantum human design. Quantum human design, in and of itself, when you're done taking your quantum human design trainings, you can integrate it into your own coaching, you can integrate it into your own practice, you can integrate it as a standalone practice. But we also do a lot of advanced trainings here. So, as I said, we have the Quantum Alignment System Professional Association membership. That's where you learn business development and again, latest techniques and trainings that will help you deepen your practice. You can, of course, if you take level 1 and 2, go on to do levels 3 and 4. So you can even do standalone readings that give you a nice way, again, to deliver quantum human design. Once you complete quantum human design level 3, you can also then go on and take the advanced quantum alignment system training where we integrate quantum human design with the emotional freedom techniques, subtle body therapies, and as I said, with sound frequencies and sound healing as well. We have a quantum human design coach certification training program. We also have a family coach training program that's coming up. We have advanced quantum human design specialty trainings where you can learn to do life cycle analysis, relationship analysis, family analysis, business analysis, and other advanced trainings that we have coming up. So this isn't just learning how to do human design. This is actually really stepping into a school that gives you a lot of different ascension paths to allow you to hone your expertise and really serve your clients. These are just a list of different testimonials that people have given us. We've trained more than 1,000 people. Hands down, people tell us again and again and again they receive unparalleled support and an in depth quality of education that really allows them to serve people at their highest level. And if you're interested in learning quantum human design, I would love to welcome you into our quantum human design family. Again, I just want to say that the work that you do will not only benefit you, you'll actually get a lot out of taking this training. It gives you an opportunity to dive deep into your own narrative. It also gives you a unique skill set that can allow you to accelerate and amplify your clients' results in a way that I don't think anything else can. When I first started adding human design to my coaching, I was very hesitant to do it in the beginning. I was trained in Myers Briggs. I was using Myers Briggs in my coaching. I did not want to run charts. I was very nervous about using a system that was based in astrology in my coaching practice. But I started very quietly getting people's birth informations and running their charts and just coaching them using human design without telling them about human design until I finally was like, this is ridiculous. I get so much out of this chart, so much information, and such a great capacity to leverage my coaching that it really was shortening the time that people spent working with me. Albeit I had to just adjust my business model a little bit, but it allowed me to be a better coach. It allowed me to serve people and help people at a higher level. I would really love for you to be able to have that ability so that you can amplify and accelerate the client's results or your own. So, this isn't just about you learning this for yourself, not just learning about this to help your clients. It's also part of what we're here to do to heal the world. We're at a place on the planet where we need a critical mass of people who remember why they're here and who they are. Every time we wake somebody up and we remind them of their unique and vital and irreplaceable role in the cosmic plan, when we reconnect them with their lovability and their self worth, their ability to consciously choose to leverage their quantum creativity, we add to a critical mass of people who are better able to find the elegant solutions to the challenges facing humanity today. I do believe, as I said, this is the most important work that we can do in the world. And if you're called to do this work, then let us know. I want to remind you before we go to questions that the highest expression of humankind is full engagement and joy that allows us to evolve by learning from and leaving the past behind, by consciously and consistently expressing our authentic potential and making our unique contribution to the world, taking our direction from spirit, being physically vital, having all the resources we need to fulfill our destiny, and taking actions that are only for the greater good of the world. This is the theme, by the way, of the G Center. If we take all the gates in the G Center, these are the themes of the gates in the G Center, the center for direction in the chart. In other words, our chart tells us that we are designed to feel good being who we are and doing what we came here to do. We're also, by the way, designed to be nice to each other. So be yourself, the real you. You are the greatest gift that you can give the world. Give yourself that gift and give your clients that gift so that they can make that contribution that they came here to make. And that contribution isn't what they do, it's who they be. So you can be the person you were born to be. And of course, as a quantum human design specialist, you help people remember this greatest gift. So I want to thank you all for listening to me today. Thank you all so much for joining me. I appreciate you all so much. And take good care of yourselves. And I look forward to all of you joining us in the future. And for those of you who feel called, joining our quantum human design family and doing this really beautiful work with the world. And take good care of yourselves. Bye.